Testing, testing.
Are we good now?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, we are.
Okay. So we are calling to order the special board meeting of the West Basin Municipal Water District today, Saturday, April sixth. And first item up, is determination of form, Mr. Gentleman, see if we have one for us today.
Yes, Mr. President, I'll begin with Director Scott Houston. Here. Director Don Deere. Director Gloria Gray. Director Carol Williams.
Here.
President Desi Alvarez.
Here,
We have a quorum.
okay. First item up on, any public comment?
Mr. President, we have not received any requests for public comment. This meeting is being held both in person and virtually. There are any members of the public who would like to make public comment that's online. Please indicate so by raising your virtual hand. And we do not see any requests.
Okay. Then we will move to presentations, which we have none.
Correct.
And then let's go into the action calendar. The first item is the one item of the first and Regional Water Resection Plant Phase 2 Extension Project Budget Amendment. So Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce that item.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. This is an item that is a continuation of our discussions with the board related to the Juanita Miller McDonald Carson Regional Water Recycling Plant, Phase 2, Expansion Project Budget and Amendment Authorization for CIP 10022. At the direction of legal counsel, we have brought this item with the staff recommendation that the board authorize the general manager to A, increase the project budget by $1,337,079 for a new not to exceed project budget of $29,157,034. And B, to execute the necessary project change orders and contract amendments as needed without exceeding the new project budget of $29,157,034. We do have staff here. There is a board memo that's included in the board packet page 3. And we're happy to proceed as you'd like. Again, staff is here to present this item if you'd like.
I don't know if we need a presentation, the board want a presentation, or just want to go any question?
What looks like for me.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I don't.
And
Not this time.
I have a couple of questions, or clarification. So with respect to the staff report on page 6, table A, on the table that, the district funding of the 15,725,526. Can you clarify if that, what does district funding mean? Is that all payable or is it all debt?
Good morning, directors. President Alvarez, the $50.7 million in table A road to refers to the low interest loan that we get from the state for the project at 12% interest. And we obviously the district would be paying off that loan, and that's basically the debt portion when we say there's a debt portion there, because it is a loan. And it's low interest loan. We will be paying off the loan to take the loan. That's why there's a role for them.
Okay. Good news. For the record, Director Gray is doing this.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay, so In reality, we are incurring additional debt. I don't know. It's kind of confusing, and I understand your justification that in the future, gonna be paid down and pay or whatever source of funding will pay the debt. But when I look at that and I see funding for pay or debt, it means that it could be one or the other or a combination. In this case, it's 100% debt.
Correct.
So I would appreciate to just identify things the way they are, and that is a loan, we call it what it is, stable loan fund. No.
Director Roberts,
That is noted. We'll make sure to do that in the future. It's important to note that table A is just a way to identify the available funding that we've already secured. If you turn to packet page 8 or page 6 of the memo, that is clearly stated. There was no intention from staff to kind of misstate that, but that is noted. We'll correct that all future memos.
I didn't know that, but it would just be nice to see it at the table too. Listen, I know about it. Okay. So the next question is on page 6, under the anticipated future cost. The approved contingency is $2,098,204. The approved change orders of $1,053,000 in table B. Can you clarify the difference in for the blue chair budget needed and the Haven budget needed for the number that's here versus the number that is in table B? And why that discrepancy? For example, blue chair budget, which would be construction management, right?
Right.
In table B, construction management, the change order is $748,000. In the little summary table under anticipated future cost each year is $645,000. Why is it down?
The unanticipated future costs. So what's typically is what, the change orders that have been executed to date. That's another way. The anticipated future costs is the $645,000 is what's anticipated. From for several months beyond what's approved. Not just looking forward at this point, but also to the previous months as well.
So in addition to the 748, we're going to spend an additional 645,000.
Correct.
All right, so help me out. Construction management in table B started out at $1,200,000. We won. Add 748, that gives you revised amount of $1,978,000, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then if I add 645,000 to that, number around $2.5 million. Right?
Yes.
Actually, closer to 2.6. But then I go to table C, I go to construction management, and it says the 1,009,79288, which is from table B, revised award after the change order 748. The future change order is 335,000. Total award is 2,003,000. But we're asking 645,000. So the numbers just I
Right.
appreciate some clarification. I'm having a hard time following numbers when I read these reports.
I apologize, Dr. Alvarez. The 335 is what we're anticipating up till May. But what we're asking is for additional contingency to the tune of 650 for the potential that the delays could further, would continue. So that's the difference between those two numbers. I apologize for the confusion. There are a lot of numbers here. Yeah, and so, but if you do a comparison between table C and table D, there's and also a more detailed breakdown of costs in attachment A, with a distinction between what we would need up until May 30th and what the ask is. The ask is actually a little bit more than that for the potential that the cost would continue beyond the May 30th.
So kind of a similar question is price and agent budget to be designed, right? And the same thing, they've already delivered a change order of 724,000. You're asking for the little summary on the lower part of page 114,000. But then the future change order, page G is only 90,000. Same series of numbers, same kind of differences. There's a delta that keeps moving itself through and should not be consistent. And in one place, you are consistent when you approve change orders. I look at that in table B versus the lower summary in page 6. That number is the same, 1,053,000.
The reason why, and I can understand why it could be a bit confusing, and I appreciate that. But what's under anticipated future costs, what that is showing there is that at some point in 2023, the committee and the board asked us to pull the additional costs for the consultants for repair and Mason from the contingency that was approved for the contractor. And on page 6, under anticipated future costs, that's what those dollars are. And that's the reason why they're showing in a minus value. It's showing what we have already pulled from that contractor contingency, so we can calculate what's remaining. Versus what's in table C is more of a holistic look at what was awarded and what the ask is to award additional. What the ask is to carry us through May 30th, and then table D is, asking for additional contingency beyond that. So those are the three different values between what's in the text, table C, and table D.
Just from my point of view, it would be nice if you initiate a project where you keep coming back and saying we need more money, and there are increases for the last. And it would be really nice to have it nice and tidy explanation of borrowed funding and why this wraps it all up. And anything extra that's being asked for that gets anticipated, that anticipated amount will be it, and we're not going to be back here. That's my concern. I see this being involved in that. Before I'm ready to approve it, I would like one clean explanation for the numbers that are consistent throughout. And I don't have to keep jumping back and forth trying to figure out what it's like. If I go back to the original award of this contract, May 6, 2021, at that time, numbers would jump around a little bit. As I said, the total project was going to be that was for construction management, engineering, labor, materials testing, explanation how we get from one to the other. But again, the numbers just keep floating all over the place. So I have questions as to what is the final number that we're going to need in order to wrap this project up. The other question that I have, and this is really for the board, the last time we talked about this in the committee, there was the $200,000 in the budget that had been allocated for site improvements and for outside landscaping work. In this report that we're hearing today, that money has been reallocated to funding the construction no longer for the site improvements. I don't have a problem with that. Just make sure that the board understands that the site improvement, outside site improvement, and that for if we approve it.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, it's kind of hard to hear you over here.
I am
I
sorry.
can hear you out there, but you sound very softly. If you could project a little bit more. Thank you.
I apologize, and I will try to
Project a little bit.
project more today.
Thank you.
Anyways, those are my comments.
Noted that Director Alvarez will be happy to provide any additional clarification. I do have the May 2021 staff report in front of me.
And I just, Mr. Chair, before you move on, first apologize for being late. I came in on the end of the conversation, but what I kind of heard is that the numbers are a little bit different than what's here, or is that correct? Or it's just that the explanation was needed. So what we're looking at is accurate.
What we're looking at is accurate. The May 2021 numbers that Director Alvarez referred to only reflect the costs of the project moving forward from May 2021. Moving forward, the costs that are shown in here are total project costs that looks at the project holistically. So the numbers that we have in the staff report is very confident.
That would be the total cost. Moving forward, I heard the chair, President asked about the total cost, correct?
But I just want,
Yeah.
the numbers kind of move around, but I don't have a full handle, but this is truly the total cost.
So is this kind of your projected total cost, or?
Correct. We are asking the board to increase the budget by 1.3 million. That would take it from the current approved 28.7 million to 27.8 million to 29.1 million, which would still be below the available funding reflected in Table A.
What's the projected date for this project?
We're hopeful that by the end of May,
I'm just
that's
saying.
the current completion date.
So these are projected change order costs and all the costs associated with it. So it is.
Correct. And Director Gray, just first, a little bit of clarification. The board had previously authorized the general manager, myself, to make these changes and approve these change orders. What the board did not do was amend the budget. So legal counsel has recommended that we now amend the budget so that when we authorize these expenses, we have budget to do so. And so this is being done at the recommendation of legal counsel. I do take note of Director Alvarez's questions and concerns. We are trying to be as consistent as possible with these numbers and with these dates. And these are reflecting the what we believe would be enough to get us through completion of the project.
Thank you, thank you, Mark. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other comments?
I just wanted to make a comment concerning the 200 and
For outside?
for offsite, that I was supporting that because it's my understanding that the changes that we were making weren't going to be that significant, and we would have the landscaping stuff done around our plant, that when the project was completed, it would look like a completed project, and to the public, it would look like this, but wisely. But then we learned that, like most public works projects, they tend to take around around longer than planned, and it costs way more than what was estimated at the beginning. So I get that and understand, and I withdraw my support for landscaping. But in the future, and we will clean up our project management, because Director Alvarez with Director Houston is going to make sure that we don't have these kind of issues when we go forward. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Go ahead, Greg.
My only question I think on this, I mean, we've had some delays, a lot of challenges, but has this impacted our end user customer at all? Where are they at on that? Really concerned of how long it's taking us to do this.
We did just meet with them. This issue did not come up in those conversations. If they had concerns, I would expect it to, but maybe Barker could touch on the service.
Aside for the occasional disruption, if we're connecting a certain type of equipment, a process, we were doing some electrical work, for example, we had to do an interruption to supply source. That has occurred on occasion as part of the construction, and the customer understood it, but a lot of coordination went into it. Aside for those type of occasions, there is no customer grievance related to the project.
Just to follow up on that, are we producing water at the plant now?
We are producing water at the plants already and compliant water, using the new system. But the commissioning of the project hasn't been completed yet. The remaining work allows us to operate the new system from this current building here. We're not able to do that yet. The integration of the local controls with the overall control system is remaining. And therefore, while we are producing water today and it is going to the customer, that's being done locally. So that's the remaining work that still needs to be done.
So, the project is basically complete. The portion that remains is a critical portion,
It is.
but it has to do with integration of the data control or the plant control. Right now, it's operated on local control, it's been operated in the overall SCADA system.
Correct.
It controls all the facilities.
Yes, and once that integration is done, there is a 30-day test that needs to be passed, and that brings it to full completion. Once that passes.
Okay, so remember you had said May now, we're gonna wrap this up. So May to be the end of the 30-day test, or May is the beginning of the 30-day test?
May, that's a very good question. At the time of the writing of this report, May was the end of the 30-day test. We are at April,
Yes.
and we're hoping that the integration gets done within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So the test starts right at May 1st, and May is the end of May 30th is the end of the 30-day test. And that is the assumption that the test is going to pass. Looking at the compliant water that we are producing, we're optimistic. But things can happen, really. And that is the reason why staff in this report has asked for additional contingency in case it goes past.
So May 31st is kind of the end, but you are asking for additional funds here to go beyond.
So we don't have to do this again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we've come back quite a few times asking for money. Okay, to that end, if I can go back to table, control the other follow-up question. If I go back to table A again, so on item 384, other crop warning grant, that is a joint grant, there's no matching funds required.
I would assume that there Are matching funds required? I would assume though, well, I would know that when you have a loan, you can match that. That can be a match. So we've exceeded any match that would be part of that agreement.
So the $8 million was a grant.
Correct.
And any matching funds covered in item 1 or 2 or 4.
Correct.
Okay. So on item 4, the Cal Water contribution $4 million.
Correct. Yes.
Do we have that money received yet?
We have not, this money would be paid at the completion of the project.
And the completion of the project means as we are serving water. So as far as Cal Water is concerned, the project is complete.
It is not completed by their standard. We need to complete the project May 31st. Hopefully would be that. And just so you know, our legal counsel has been in touch with Cal Water's legal counsel to update them on this project. We do anticipate receiving that $4 million upon completion.
Okay, so upon completion here, let me put out a scenario for you. Let's say that the final integration of the instrumentation control cannot be accomplished. And we decide that we just need to cut our losses for speed on their team. And we take the plant is basically operating and it's delivering the waters that we need to the standards that were required, right? But for all practical purposes, we have a completed project. And we say we just need to cut our losses, terminate our contract with Phelan, figure out what that termination number will be, and move on. But the project, that last little item, which is a very important item of integration of the instrumentation, busy times, and we'll be taking care of it at some point in the future with a different consultant or doing it ourselves. How does then Cal Water interpret that in terms of a finished project?
Well, it's worth noting that Cal Water, our customer and partner, has not denied West Basin the funds, the $4 million. We have not asked for it as we have not completed the project. We have our legal counsel working with their legal counsel, so I don't anticipate this being a problem. It's important to note that Cal Water, several years ago, came to us and offered to partner with us on this project without us requesting it. This was revitalized because I think they agreed to do this back prior to 2015. Back in 2021, I revisited this with their general manager, and based off of their promise to invest in this project, they agreed to maintain or uphold that promise. And so I don't anticipate this being an issue. It's just a matter of getting through the project and requesting the funds. And I'd have to look at the agreement, the contract, to determine exactly when we would request those funds. But based off of our original intent, it was at the completion of the project.
If I may comment, I have the agreement in front of me here. It says that $4 million would be paid no later than 15 days after receipt of notice of completion for the project.
So you can issue a notice of completion for purposes of Cal Water if you're serving water.
I think the reference to notice of completion is the notice of completion document that we would issue to a contractor. Is how I would interpret this, but I understand.
And I do want to say for the record again, that Cal Water is our customer and partner on this project. They've worked with us as far as doing this on their own accord, as far as contributing to this project. And so though they are not here with us today, they may be listening to it virtually. I do want to say thank you to them, and they have been a good partner on this project.
So they're disputing that, you're just worried about making sure that you get the $4 million.
I have that same concern, but I feel really good about it.
Any other questions?
But I understand that there's no definition of, real definition of complete.
Well, as Barco mentioned, the notice of completion that we would provide to our contractor would be, in our minds, what we agreed to.
What we agreed to. I really don't believe that. That water. Pipes or anything.
I don't believe so either.
That's the way they have. You can tell. Because they're not here. All right, thank you.
Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Director Scott Houston.
Yeah.
Director John Deere. Director Gloria Gray.
Yes.
Director Harold Williams.
Yes.
President Desi Alvarez.
No.
Thank you very much. I know that this item has been very difficult. Again, I do think it is in line with the direction that the board gave to the general manager previously. We will continue to monitor the budget. We will continue to save costs whenever and wherever possible. And I promise you that, and we look forward to completing this project as soon as possible.
This project is my statement that public works projects have a bad reputation. They always cost more than what we estimated. To monitor.
Thank you, EJ. Good morning, directors and everyone attending this meeting. Thank you for being here today. Each year, West Basin prepared the annual operating and the CIP budget. We developed the budget based on West Basin's mission, which is to providing a safe and reliable supply of high quality water to the community we serve. Lower than expected water sales in FY 23 and 24, increasing in operating and maintenance costs at the West Basin recycling facilities, increased costs on chemicals, power, and other consumable goods, creating a major financial challenges for the current year and the past year. West Basin has successfully implemented several measurements to reduce the current year's expenses, which we included in the presentation. The challenges we're facing this year will carry over to the next year. We're developing a FY25 budget with the consideration of these challenges. We plan several budget workshops in April and May. We will present how West Basin proposed the revenue generating from rate, fixed charges, and other sources just such as grant funding. Will providing the financial resources to support West Basin's core mission, programs, projects, and the many services we're providing to the community. We will be seeking feedbacks and further directions from the board during the workshops with the goal of the board adopting the fiscal year 25 budget by the end of May. I will start my presentation on page 14 of your package. So on page 14, an agency cannot be run without a mission. Our mission is to provide a safe, reliable supply of high quality water to the community we serve. Now please turn to page 15. Page 15 is today's meeting agenda. We will be discussing fiscal year 24-25 budget workshop schedule, FY23 actual costs, compare with the current year projection. We'll be talking about the key budget drivers. We'll be talking about FY25 proposed expenses and the proposed revenue. Just like EJ mentioned, this is just going to give you a very general information about what the total going to be. At the next workshop, we'll be giving you every single line item with the details. Number 6 on the agenda, we'll be talking about the proposed FY25 West Basin reliability service charge. And then we'll be seeking the feedback about the next step. Please turn to page 16 of your package. Those page 16 of the package, basically we had already decided several workshop. The only thing is the only workshop we have not decided is the customer workshop.
If you have concerns about attending any one of these meetings, please let us know as soon as possible. We don't want to wait.
So please turn to page 17. As I mentioned earlier, we are facing challenges when developing the FY25 budget. Our challenges including potable water sales declined in FY23 and FY24 as a result of a strong water conservation effort. Our recycling water operation maintenance costs are increasing. The current recycling water agreement are not covering the cost. Current net revenue after paying off the debt service is not sufficient to cover the district capital improvement project and the replacement project. We also have an opportunity, which is we are looking forward. The number one opportunity is several major recycling water agreements will be renewed in FY25, providing opportunity to recover the costs in the future. The cost study will be concluded at the end of this year. We discovered there is an issue how we collecting the RTS for Metropolitan. We plan to change from a community rate to a fixed monthly charge in the next fiscal year. Before we move on to FY 25 proposed budget, I would like to provide the financial overview of the FY 23 actual and FY 24 projection. Please turn to page 19. FY 24 potable water sales are projected to be lower than FY 23 actual and lower than FY 24 budget. As of February 2024, we has further adjusted down our potable water sales from the 95,000 we budgeted to the 82,000. So there will be 13,000 acre feet less than we budgeted. At the same situation, our recycling water sales, we're budgeting 33,000. Current projection is going to be 29,000. For the recycling water, currently we see the reduction is in the barrier and the Title 22. So now let's turn to, yes. Yes.
For the most part, yes.
So that would be accounting for its kind of recovery of costs and those additional costs. To be something that we are reinforcing if there was a big release with them. To be able to the operation of that.
It is possible it's just related to them.
Okay. So I'm moving on to page 20. As a result of reduced potable water sales, fiscal year 24 total potable and reliability water service revenue are going to be projected lower than the budget. West Basin adds $275 per acre feet reliability service charge for the potable water we sell to the retail agencies and the WRD Dominguez Gap. With the decrease of more than 13 acre feet in sales, the revenue from the collection of West Basin RSC will decrease by 3.6 million this year. So now I'm going to go on page 21. Aging infrastructure, inflation, increase in chemical and energy costs, poor water quality from Hyperions, and the unexpected shutdown made the recycling water sales unpredictable. Above average rain reduced the demand for the irrigation water. As you can see, the table we provided, the recycling water sales will be decreased from 33,000 to 29,000. And then our projected net loss, instead of 10.6 million, currently we're projecting 12.5 million loss. The last one on the table, as you can see, the average cost per acre feet of the recycling water has been increased. In fiscal year 23, the average cost per acre feet of recycling water is 1690. We projected for this current year is going to be 1898 per acre feet. And this is just, we're not talking to any particular type of water. We're just using the total operation expenses divided by the total acre feet we thinking we would sell. So please turn to page 22. Page 22, we want to give a board information about the West Basin Water Use Efficiency Program. West Basin Water Use Efficiency Program to support the West Basin's long-term strategy to reduce potable demand, increase local water resilience, and then providing a support to the retailers, cities, and our community. Within the water use efficiency program, we have budgeted $1 million for the grass removal program. And then we also budgeted 6,000 Rim barrel. Okay. So we also budgeted the money for the rim barrel. The grass replacement project currently has a low demand. So we were thinking at the end of the year, instead of spending $1 million, probably we're going to be spending between $500,000 to $600,000. That's why on page 22, our projection of the expenses for the water use efficiency program is lower than the budget.
And if I should touch on so there's a couple of issues in relation to what we budgeted for on our conservation program, and that lower amount that has been spent. I would say three issues that have affected our spending rate on water use efficiency. First and foremost, we did budget, I believe, $150,000. It was supposed to be reimbursed through grants for our Long Storage units and Malibu partnership. Due to issues related to the MOU and LA County and the project partners there, that project has not yet begun. And so therefore, no funds have been expended to date. But once that project does launch, we anticipate a very successful program. And so the spend rate will move forward. Secondly, the budget was amended by the board of directors after the budget was approved in order to provide additional funds for our grass replacement program. The reason for that was that once we adopted the budget, we looked at projects that were in the queue, and the way Metropolitan Water District implements that program is that as soon as an application is submitted and they would meet all the qualifications, they basically dedicate those funds for those projects. So kind of it's removed from the account, if you will, showing how much money we had available. And when board of directors approved our budget and looked at those funds, a lot of our funds for the grass replacement program were obligated. So we came to the board of directors and we said, really, with all the projects that are in the queue, if we were to fund all of those projects, there would not be much for future projects. And first, the number that was obligated by the Metropolitan District was not correct. And then secondly, those projects, those the funds are obligated. That does not mean that the customer will ultimately complete that project and receive those funds. So we did have a high obligation rate, but we didn't have the spend rate that we thought we could. So that would be the explanation for the underspending on this budget. Go ahead.
Okay, please turn to page 23. Okay, question.
We understand. And I will.
No underspending. Yeah. Yeah. So for the West Basin labor and benefit, you not only we're not talking about the labor only participate dedicated for water use.
I'm looking.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay. Okay, please turn to page 23. So 23, in 2022, the Federal Reserve initiated a series of rate increase. And that is the beneficial to West Basin because we are currently investing in treasury notes, agency bonds, and the money market. And with the Fed right now, the rate probably return given to us 4.5 to 5%. We actually seeing $1 million higher interest income than the year before. And we had already talked to the financial advisor for the next year coming up. The projection return of our investment will be around 3.6 to 3.9, which is way better than the year 2020. Back then, I think we make it 0.3%. Please turn to page 24. So on page 24, we do have other revenues coming in to supporting our operations. One of the revenue is our standby revenue, and standby revenue will be phased out in fiscal year 30. We have a slide later in the presentation. And then the second line, which is shows the grant funding opportunity. When we budgeted in last year for fiscal year 24, we're expecting the $4 million from Caldwater. We are also expecting the $4 million from the state of California. Both are for the Carson Phase 2 program. As we're looking for conservatively managing the budget for the current year, right now we are not putting the $4 million Caldwater into the calculation. As EJ mentioned, we may be very possible to finish the Carson Phase 2 project, and then we may be able to recording the $4 million, but just as we want to be a little bit more conservative, and we want to be able to projecting all our risk and then be able to control our costs in the next few months. And for refinery fixed charges, when we did the fiscal year 24 budget, we know that we have a Torrance agreement, which was already expired, but currently is being renewed, extended to August 2024. Therefore, at the time, we did not budgeting the fixed revenue costs from Torrance refinery. However, currently, since their current agreement being extended to August 2024, they're continue to paying the monthly fixed charges. So Torrance refinery, the Nitrify, they're paying us $114,000 a month, equivalent to about $1.4 million a year. And then for Torrance Boreal feed, they're paying us $131,000 a month, equivalent to about $1.6 million a year.
I do want to point this out to the board of directors. So when we adopt a budget, what we do is we look at the revenue, what we track where we'll receive, what we know we will receive. So in this case, we did the same thing last year. We knew that the contract was going to run to its termination date.
And so we did not plan for that fixed revenue because we did not have a new agreement. So when we entered into that new one-year agreement, back in August, that's what started that fixed part of the contract. And that's really why you see these projected total amount on the refinery fixed charges in comparison to what we budgeted. And you'll see that again this year. That contract will be up in August. We are having conversations with the refinery. And so when we look at the fixed payments or fixed revenue for the future, for the next fiscal year, it'll be the same thing. What we factor that we will be receiving. The second piece I would like to highlight on this is that per our agreements with the refineries, the fixed charges are dedicated to CIP and R&R projects. So when we're having those conversations with the refineries, they know that they're paying both a commodity or a charge for input that they receive, which should cover the O&M, or I think that's the intent there. And then of course the fixed payments are dedicated to the R&M and CIP.
Then the delta between the projected payments we were in the budget for this was 59 million. That was just the funds refinery.
I believe so, yes,
Yes.
for the nitric and the OL.
So in the year we need to speak in that much more money, even
Correct.
Question, and I know later today we're gonna go over the next stuff, but can you remind us on the standby revenue, approximately of the face value?
We do have a slide later in this presentation that walks you through all the way to the termination of the sale.
Right now, what's in the budget is projecting is what we are gonna get. Cycle.
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll move on to page 25. Page 25, we do have other operating expenses. We have a public information and education program. As you can see that our projection for the current year is lower than the budget. So for the public information and education, we budgeted $4.8 million. Within the $4.8 million, actually the $4 million is West Basin's labor benefit and overhead. Only the $800,000 is actually the program cost. The program cost, we including the water harbors, is one of our major public information's program. That program, we budgeted $184,000. So we actually, the actual spending is about $150,000. We are saving $30,000 on that program. And then for another program we budgeted is the art contest. We budgeted $12,500 in there. We also have a water school bus, water exploration program, which we budgeted $220,000 in there. And then we have our education program, outreach program. So that is sum up about the total, about $800,000 program cost in there. And we are closely monitoring. We are trying to achieve all the program we budgeted and providing the service to the community. The next one is the water policy. Water policy, we budgeted $1.3 million. And then actually $1.3 million, $1 million is West Basin labor and benefit. It's only $300,000 is the program cost. And currently, this program, we expected a little bit more spending on there, is because we have a lot of West Basin's internal people participate in the grant application, and then their time is charging to this program. For the technical planning, we budgeted 5.2, and within this budget, last year, when we do the budget, we're talking about, we may want to participate with LOADWP and BR project, which is we budget over $1 million potential study with that purpose. We also budget the interconnection feasibility study for 1.6. And then we budgeted the groundwater argumentation study for about $250,000. And then chemical storage condition assessment for about $173,000. And there is $1.8 million, which is West Basin's own labor benefit and overhead being budgeted to this program as well. Currently, there's a lot of projects. You know, we decided not to proceed. We'll be looking for the opportunity in the future. There's only one project currently going in here is the cost of service study, which is still ongoing. And then a lot of West Basin's management and staff participate in this project.
Manufactured. Technical findings. It's important to note that we do have the India pilot project that we had partnered with LA. We have negotiated out of that, and we are no longer contributing to that project, though we are a project partner. Secondly, we took all of the technical and put it on hold. We did move forward with one aspect of it, that's called Water District, but we requested and received full support from that Water District. They take the entirety of the study. We are going to continue to wait until the further development of the project that I've expressed the water. We will work with those partners. As we think that the benefit that West Coast provides should be considered by those partners. And I would expect to have nearly all investment funds on those studies based on that Fall Water District and LA.
Okay, please turn to page 26.
In certain cases, we've saved money. You'll see that with the budget and our anticipated full fiscal year sale, we are anticipated to have a significant loss of revenue. And so when it comes to the technical planning studies, we specifically put the rest of the projects on hold. The funding that you see there, the projected funding, that's I believe all labor, it's all in-house staff time, as well as the cost of service schedule.
Correct.
And so we have not, yes, and so we have not moved forward with any of the other technical planning studies as far as dollars spent.
Okay, please turn to page 26. West Basin's target debt coverage is 1.75. That is based on our strategic planning. Our legal debt coverage is 1.2 because we had signed a loan agreement with the state of California for the PV lateral project. In the chart below, you can see when we were planning for the current year budget last year, we projected the debt coverage at 1.49. Currently, our projection for this year's debt coverage will be 1.31 because our net revenue going to be the 27.3 million. And then our debt payment is going to be the 20.9 million. So use those, log into the formula, the debt coverage will be the 1.31.
This is a concern that we look at the projected debt coverage being at 1.31. That's
dangerously low. As Wendy pointed out, 1.2 is our contractual obligation to the state of California. You can imagine that if sales continue to grow, we would be really pressing on that. And that's one of the reasons why staff has really looked at how to control costs. Even all vacant positions at this time have been either delayed or placed on hold in order to save money in this fiscal year, because we do have concerns about this. And if you look at the debt coverage policy, as when we pointed out, it is 1.75. I do recognize that that is high, but it's also very healthy. And we'll be talking about that throughout this budget discussion, future board workshop. We would like to get that coverage ratio higher, and we would like to at some point really build back our reserves, which is an issue for all water districts. It's a central part of the discussion at all water districts, their reserves, but ours is also moving lower and lower. So with that, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, so just want to, yeah.
At some point, we will that doing
Yes.
one thing in the we've always been saying I have more money in the bank. That's never a bad thing. But depending on what you are, and you know, you're an individual, how much money you have to have in the bank this week. So that was best to have more, so it's not just. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, please turn to page 27. So we understand that potable water sales is going to be changing based on a lot of external factors, such as the weather, conservation, regulation. Those are the factors we cannot control. Understand that low demand in the potable water sales will be reducing West Basin's revenue. Staff has taken some actions, which is we can control to reduce our fiscal year, current year costs. So on page 28, we lay out, there are proactive actions we has been taking in this current year to reduce our costs. The first item I think we already discussed is the technical planning. That right now we're planning to saving $4 million with some of the project that we're not going to be moving forward for this current year. And then for West Basin labor and the benefit, our projection is our budget is 10.5 million. Currently, the projection going to be 8.3. We have the AGM vacant for 9 months. We have one person at Public Information Department that is vacant for 7 months. The CFO position was vacant for 7 months. And then we have a accounting supervisor right now is also already vacant for 4 months. Engineer manager has been vacant for 4 months as well. So with all these positions has been vacant for most part of the year, we will be able to save about $2.2 million. And of course, the third item, which is our CIP and R&R project.
No, we're moving forward with the assistant general manager, and that is nearly complete. And then we're going to evaluate each of the vacant positions. I'm happy to discuss the positions with you all individually. If you have any questions, but really what it comes down to is that understanding that our revenue is going to take a significant hit on our sales this year. We need to evaluate every single position. So in some cases, we have more senior positions and we backfilled that with entry level in order to train people and build up our workforce. And then others, we're trying to make do until we get to the next fiscal year so we can evaluate each position.
Okay, so the third item, which is the CIP and the R&R project. we budgeted we're going to be spending $38.8 million. Currently, our projection is we'll be spending $17 million by the end of this year.
Say we would have needed to utilize that debt to particular process. But I also want to point out that I've been working with staff and of course with the rest of the executive and operations. We have deferred all projects that are not immediately necessary. But I want to point out that with those deferments as we delay projects, there is risk involved in that. We are running things to failure, and when things fail, that becomes a significant issue. So I want to point that out because when we talk about future CIP projected costs and when we get into these projects, we need to evaluate each project for what they are and what that risk is and the liability of if that project is not being completed in time or in the next fiscal year, what of course will happen. So I want to point that out. There are savings with different projects, but there is risk as well.
Last year, yes, last time we did not $0, so $6 much.
Correct.
Dollars not spent, dollars that will need to be spent. But yes,
It would be dollars bottom.
we wouldn't even utilize at that.
As opposed to that, planning and saving benefits, those are real dollars too.
Correct. We could have pulled further out our reserves to pay for some of those projects. But again, I'm looking at that coverage ratio. Yeah, that would have been very problematic for the folks.
Okay, now I would like to discuss the fiscal year 24-25 budget process. I'm on package page 29. So there are several key budget drivers. Please turn to page 30. The key budget driver, including the low demand for the potable water, resulted in low revenue collection of waste basin reliability service charge. And recycling water cells and cost of maintaining the aging recycling facility are very difficult to predict. For example, in January this year, we have 7 incidents happened at ECL. And in March, we have 4 incidents, big or small. All these incidents sometimes caused by equipment failure or the power outage, and then the all affecting production. We also have the budget driver. Another one is the recycling water agreement. And then, the ongoing cost of service study. And standby revenue, we have a number for you guys to review later. And then we also have a challenge of a decrease in waste basin reserve balance and debt coverage. We have in the current year, we have a challenge of full recovery of Metropolitan's RTS charges. Those are the charges we collected and sent it back to Metropolitan. And then our challenge next one is going to be our net revenue is not sufficient to cover the CIP and the R&R project. So we'll talk about each drivers in the next few slides. Please turn to page 31. So on page 31, we're talking about waste basin's reliability service charge. Those are the charge per acre feet the board approved, and every year we add on top of the potable water we sell to the retailers and the communities. So for FY23, our reliability service charge is $257 per acre feet. And then we were budgeting to receiving 27 million, but I actually receiving is 23 million due to not enough potable water being sold. For the current year, the reliability service charge we budget at 26.6. As we already discussed, we're not going to sell 95,000 acre feet of potable water. We're only going to be possible sell for 82,000. Therefore, the projection receiving the reliability survey charge down from 26.6 to 23 million. There's a $3.6 million that we're not expecting to be received. $275 per acre feet. Yes, yes, yeah. Correct. Yeah. So now please turn to page 32. On page 32, we have a graph prepared for you. Then the blue bar, which shows the recycling water cells in the past 10 years. As you can see, in the past 3 years, it has been much lower than the previous beginning of FY 16, 18. So our recycling water cells in general, the production has been going down. And then if you can see the cost, which is the one on the top, since FY 21, our cost has been keep on increase. Yeah. Yes, 22 is Hyperion.
Hyperion event occurred in July of 2021, which goes into fiscal year 22.
Yes.
23 is we're recovering from it, we're still way under. And I don't know, pretty much. The demand has gone down.
Some demand went down because of the weather, particularly the irrigation demands. Refinery demands have not go down, with the exception of when you've had those failures in certain instances. And there's a significant interruption to refining, those impact the numbers for our industrial demand. But barrier demands have gone down. And so for the highly purified recycled water, the lower demands are mainly associated with the fluctuating water quality since the event, even before the event, but since the event, even more.
So the barrier demand is very thin. We're just using that water.
Right. When I say barrier demand, I mean the recycled water. Partially due to Hyperion as the general manager.
I think we have Hyperion time. That's fine.
Okay, please turn to page. Please turn to page 33. So on page 33, we're providing the information about all of our refinery, or not only refinery, our current recycling water agreement the starting day, the ending day. And then as you can see, we do have opportunity for the next year. Like Chevron Nitrify is going to be terminate the agreement on September 2024. And then for Torrance Nitrify, we're extended the contract to August 31st, 2024. And then for Marathon, the contract going to be end on February 1, 2025. With the cost of the service, the goal, we're hoping the cost of service can determine the cost associated with providing the recycling water to the customers, and then providing allocation of what is the fair rate that is supposed to be charged to all the recycling customers.
So the board of directors, obviously we have our ongoing discussions with Chevron. As Wendy just pointed out, the nitrification agreement that we have with them, does expire here in September 2024. And again, I mentioned this earlier about the fixed revenue that we receive from the refineries. We only will budget for the contractual fixed payments that we know will receive. So we anticipate additional revenue when we negotiate these contracts as Wendy mentioned, also Marathon that does terminate our term agreements be terminated in the next fiscal year to budget for the fixed payments that we'll receive up until February. But again, we hope to have a bit of revenue there as well. And then last but not least, I wanted to point out a couple of items on there. First and foremost is the WLB barrier agreement. That is one of the most, I would say, significant impact on our budget there. And you can see we've got agreements run through 2037. And I have been in negotiations or discussions with the state, their discussions to renegotiate that agreement. We also have been meeting with WRG as part of our West Basin and WRG ad hoc. I've let them know that this is a significant issue, and I hope to address that at a next ad hoc meeting. But I think that this will take some time. We do lose significant funding for our costs exceed the revenue generated for our delivery to the barrier. And we also, when we have to deliver potable water, we also lose that. We lose money on that as well. And we'll touch on that later in this presentation.
Thank you very much for the explanation, which is very good. Morning, finalize this project. I understand that we are feeling particularly agreement. Thank you very much for that outreach agreement for the negotiating and information. If you appreciate the that's probably it. One of the biggest again, our biggest money was really great on every aspect of our team. And the above and leaving the third one, I'm very excited. The budget that we end up adopting to address these issues, and you can see them on the in the future. And hopefully somebody can move into but Chevron doesn't have two, one expires in 2027. But if we negotiate both of those agreements at the same time with Chevron, it would be beneficial to Chevron because it would be definitely for us to have one agreement that covers all aspects of the water delivery to them. They just only believe for so,
I think from my perspective, I'd like to have two agreements, one for the warranty and one for the notification. The notification facility, of course, is a satellite facility and very unique. I think Joseph would provide to Chevron. So we don't want to have those separated out. On the boiler fee agreement, it's worth noting that that agreement does go through 2027. I've been very upfront with Chevron to let them know that that agreement is not working for West Basin, but I also believe that it's not working for Chevron as well. But I think that there should be a mutual desire to renegotiate that agreement as soon as possible.
You have one agreement, I definitely, for the application of the orders. We mentioned it's a return. The law, yes, continue to do some time.
Please turn to page 34. So on page 34, we had information providing regarding the West Basin standby service charge revenue. So in FY 31, we will have a zero. The standby revenue program will be end. We'll be having a zero income from this program. However, we still have $107 million outstanding principals and interest from the previous bond issuance that we still have to be paid off from fiscal year 34 to fiscal year 2042. So to receiving the $7 million in FY fiscal year 31, if we're using today's potable water sales at 82,000 acre feet, that means to get the $7 million we are not getting from the year before, we have to be increased the reliability service charge by $85 per acre feet. That is a 31%. If we're looking for making up that the $7 million we lost.
It's probably true with that data. You can see how the negotiating settlement, standby charge runs through until fiscal year 2030. In that next fiscal year 31, it drops to zero. And so depending on how we're facing budgets from here and from then, if you were not to plan for that, as Brandon pointed out, it would be an $85 increase in order to recover that much revenue that we would be losing. So we're going to want to definitely plan for that time and budget accordingly, because that will impact obviously to the district in 2031.
And what previous rectifications and going to address that issuance is a lot of segments, the agency down for the water sales, extremely easy to put. That would be more than 85.
Yes.
Yes. So maybe in the current year, it's above the $275 a year, but we had to do it for daily.
Yeah,
They charge me like $275 or $275 plus 80.
correct.
Yeah, 360 for the day.
So that's a 31% increase if it's next year. So please turn to page 35. On page 35, West Basin's reserves, which is our cash and investment total, has been declined from the 96 million in FY21 to 82 million in FY22 to the 72 million in FY23. And our cash on hand as of FY23 is 77 days. Our debt coverage also declined from 1.84 to 1.47, and then to the 1.36. And then we just discussed our current year projection for that debt coverage will be further declined to 1.31.
Those aren't dollars saved, because we wouldn't require to utilize that to pay for that. I think it's 21.8 million. If you were to utilize the reserves and we would have funded those projects, that would drop our reserves down to 50 million. And again, from our perspective, we need to talk about where we want to be as an agency with our reserves
And then folks have that covered their issue as well.
So there's only two ways actually left us for increase our reserves. Either we increase our revenue, increase our rate, or we have to further reduce our expenses.
They go to offset everything. We have a significant amount of debt. So how we can finance the CIP becomes very critical. Ideally, we can take money out of the reserve, but still penalty. And that would finance it. So we're in a little more debt. And we just figure out how to pay for that debt, and that's a big problem right now.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's move on to page 36. So page 36 is we want to give a board the details about the current issue with how West Basin collecting the RTS for Metropolitan. Yeah.
So that's what water district has a charge with the readiness to serve RTS. The way they calculate it is they have a fixed charge. They look at all of the network agencies. They run a 10-year average of each agency and how much imported water they buy from the small water district. And then they portion that fixed charge to all the member agencies based off of the percent of imported water sales. So we know how much we need to pay. And if you look at the slide here, back in fiscal year 23, it was 11.7 million, and of course 11.8. And then of course the projection for fiscal year 24, again, it's a hard cost that we know we have to pay. Of the 26 member agencies, only 3 charge on their volumetric rate. Everybody else puts it on their property tax. So they collect the charge and they pay exactly what is owed through their property tax. From a policy perspective, West Basin chose to put it on their volumetric rate because of our existing agreements with the refineries, as well as the costs associated with the Title 22. So when we look at our volumetric rate, it is comprised of the cost of that water plus the reliability service charge, and then we add the RTS. And so collectively, that's how much we charge per acre fill. The problem with that is that you're basically taking your budgeted imported water sales and dividing it by that amount that is owed. When you budget on the projected sales, that's an educated guess. We have our urban water management plan. We look at what we sold last year. We look at the hydrologic concerns and issues of that year to see how there will be. If we haven't gotten, we know it's going to have heavy messaging come down. But in doing it this way, you're basically relying on that budgeted projected sales. And if you exceed your budgeted, you can actually be overcharged on your RTS. And if you come under budget, you can see that you under collect. And because of conservation, because of drought, because of messaging, and because of the success of our programs, we have under collected on our RTS, which is a pass through. So we've seen a loss, which is close to $1.8 million this fiscal year. And last fiscal year, we lost 1.9 million. This is an issue that is somewhat easy to correct. West Basin could utilize a fixed charge on our resellers, but then we need to look and see how we will collect on the Dominguez gap, which is an imported sale to WRG. So we're looking at that. We're consulting with legal counsel on that option. I've also asked staff to work with legal counsel to see if we could go back to that and say, well, we second guessed ourselves, maybe we do want to have it on our property tax, and just allow them to do it, and then what's well space and gets out of our chance and whatever. So we're evaluating that. But what you do have is an optics issue. If you can imagine, if you were to remove the RTS from your volumetric rate and do it as a fixed charge, and I want to be very clear and transparent here, it'll look as though our water rates actually went down. But that's not the case. We're just trying to protect the agency. And in this case, I think we're protecting our retail agencies because we do not want to overcorrect as well. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but I wanted this issue to be very clear because this is something that we need to work on first.
I do want to follow up on this, fully to, projection of volumetric, sales. And it has been, we had a lot of discussion last year and I think the previous year. One way to artificially lower the volumetric rate is to over project your sales. Which is kind of what we've done. We go back to, I think it's slide and everything with County.
Yeah.
When we talked about this last year, our water sales last year were around 90,000. We, it was these,
88,000.
88. The potable water cells, yeah.
it was 90,000. We budgeted 97. We probably should have budgeted lower, knowing that we're going to continue to push for conservation, which is a good thing. And we send out our water bill at 83,000. So it's always better to budget on saving, selling less water, and being very honest about it. If you sell more water, you do generate additional revenue, like you will go into Missouri, or that's a bit, you can refund it. So if you look at this year, as we move forward, to be very careful that we're not over projecting our water scale. This is an issue both here in the metropolitan. Metropolitan, third by the station, 1.55 million, to the water scale, and the actual water scale is 1.17. So they have half a billion dollar deficit because we're going to get over projecting the water scale. And so I think we really need to be very careful. Better to just be upfront about it. Base our rate on the conservative water flow and we sell more water. And we do generate that additional revenue with utilities or anything.
Agree, and we're looking at a conservative approach as far as our projections. It's worth noting, if we go back historically, we have budgeted conservatively and exceeded that. You can imagine when you're setting your RTS, or not setting your RTS, but budgeting your total sales. If you sell over that, if you budget low and exceed that, you're going to see that additional revenue. So it does cost an issue in relation to that. But we do intend to bring back the conservative approach as far as the projected zero. And then after upgrade, I would like to point out we've seen we have a slide that we typically do in our presentation that shows the fluctuation in groundwater pumping and the trends on that. We are, and that's a significant impact to us. So we say if a new well comes online, that impact us. If a well goes offline, of course, our sales go up there as well. So we're reliant on our retail agencies and groundwater pumping.
You just say you're bringing back some options. I'd like to see all those options.
At the end of this, so this presentation, I think, gives you a really good vision as to where we sit right now, and then what the issues that we have to deal with in the next fiscal year. At the end of this presentation, we provide 4 scenarios that you can look at just to give you an idea of what it looks like if you were to not have a rate increase this year or 0%. And then we look at some different options at 5, 10, and 15 as far as that goes.
because it gives you a very good understanding of how much would need to be cut in order to distribute the 15% 10 or 5 or 0. And so this is just giving you food for thought when you leave before the next budget. You can start to look at what options you'd like to move forward. And of course, we can on any scenario or any option forward.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go on page number 37. On page 47, West Basin doesn't have a current capital funding policy. So the capital funding policy, some other district may have the policy. Basically, if we do have a policy, the policy will be saying how much percentage of construction projects supposed to be funded by either revenue or other sources. That is the layout supposed to be in the policy. But because we do not have a policy today, our current, we actually, the CIP and the R&R project actually is funded by West Basin's cash reserve with some grant funding, some loan from the state of California. So as you can see, the net revenue, our net revenue, for example, in FY23, we have a $25.3 million net revenue. And then our debt payment is the 18.5. And then if you use 25.3 minus the 18.5, that gave you, the cash available for funding the CIP project will be the $6.8 million. However, for FY23, our CIP spending is 21.6 million. So therefore, we showed you the $14.7 million is actually funded by West Basin Reserve. And the same thing going to be continue happening for this current year projection. We're projecting we have a net revenue of 27 million. And then our debt payment going to be the 20.9. So after that, there's only $6.4 million left. And then our construction, if our construction cost going to be 17 million, that means we are going to be spending another $10.5 million from our cash to fund this CIP project. Yes.
So our projection is going for revenue from 25 million, 27.
Mm-hmm.
Our debt payments also from 18 to 20. Our debt payments are about 2 million.
Correct.
When you said though that we funded our capital from reserve, why did our debt payments go up by $2 million?
Oh, the debt payment schedule is already when we issue the bonds, the schedule has been sort of already laid it out. The debt payment doesn't have, is pre-scheduled, a hardcore payment already calculated. It shows on the bond issuance document. I think when we designed it, a long time ago, when you borrow money, you can design to say, well, it's 25 years, right? I don't have much cash in the first 5 years, so I'm going to pay very minimum. And then I defer the payment, going to be larger, maybe in the middle of the 25 years, and then going to be getting smaller and smaller. So those are all you'll see the debt payment starting changing year by year, but those has already, because we had when we issue the bonds, we projecting what our cash going to be. So it's predetermined how much we're going to pay. Okay.
So we have a hard debt payment schedule that we're facing. And kind of if you want to put it on a personal mortgage type of thing, they have a million that you say, it's a principal loan, interest only for the first 5 years. And then after 5 years, all of a sudden I'm paying for we can now have to take things going. So we're kind of the same thing. We have a schedule of getting
Correct.
that will lower, then you may go up, and then something may go down again. I think we also need to be very careful about having a full picture of that. Because I know that I always feel back into saying, you know, we have a lot of debt, we have a lot of debt coming in, and we have, you know, as we look forward, we have, you know, with less revenue than we anticipated. So if we have a real tricky balancing act that we're gonna have to face, and how we're gonna sign into the agency, it's going to be on those one day all the time. And I think we take that answer and we do have connections to that thing. And it would make that is good.
But
Correct.
in line with that, as far as the commitment, I also want to point out about the CIP, you can see there the shortfall. And it's really important to know that we do have, and we have made commitments to our refinery partner as far as the CIP projects that we have outlined. It's not ideal that specific projects would be included in an agreement. They will not be included in future agreements. But obviously the refineries have a preference. We do not have their rates spiking down. They're looking for some consistency. And at least in our conversations with them in the past, they've always stated that fixed payment for projects and stuff like that. They understand it's necessary, but they want to understand what they're paying for. And so we don't have dedicated accounts. When we receive fixed payments from a refinery, we don't earmark that and set that aside in a specific CFG account. But that is something that we're considering so that we know what those funds are and they're dedicated to meet the contractual obligations of our refineries. So you want to point that out because when we talk about the CIP, that is one of the concerns of at least one of our refinery partners. But I would presume that all of our refinery customers would like to see those fixed payments dedicated to these projects.
It's really, really a restless reputation, but it's not either the next workshop or some other time. Maybe we can bring back 50 discussions on what debt obligations are and our overall budget and how we're going to balance that. Because on the one hand, that's a real issue. On the other hand, if you mentioned maybe the CIP is an issue, I know that it's come up over and over again, how we're going to pay for these things. We have so much money. We have so many obligations, and what's one of the commitments is making the future and being able to really find it. So we're
Yes.
and you've identified it here, but I think it needs to be brought back and yours. Still, really the versions that you get coming on being put off, and you take over, say, this is the year and we do that update.
We will get that sent out
Yes.
next week, and then we'll include it in the future presentation as well, so that way you have the information from council.
Okay. So let's move on to package page number 38. So we will be starting talking about the FY25 projected expenses. It's on page number 39. The $72.3 million is currently our proposed expense for fiscal year 25. And we will be providing very detailed expenses for each department, each major expending in the next workshop. So this today, just to give you information about what is the total number looks like.
It's like you may want to revisit this slide at the very end when we go and talk about the different scenarios and rates. Because if you those scenarios will identify what cuts would be needed as far as dollar amounts to come out with the rates. that the board prefers. And so when you begin to think about where to make cuts, you have to look at that. And then we can talk a little bit about each one again in the next workshop.
Okay, so now please turn to page 41. So page 41, we're providing the information about our projection, the projected budget revenue for FY25. So the projected revenue right here, we projected the 98.6 million. Basically, we are calculated based on no increase on reliability service charge. That's how we calculated this number as of right now. Then please turn to page 43. We just want to providing the board with some understanding of how we propose, how we developing FY25 propose the reliability service charge. So within the development of budget, the next year budget, we're consider using the 82,000 acre feet as a budgeted retail potable water sales for the next year. And then we got the 2,500 acre feet budget potable water sales to WRD Dominguez Gap. This number came from WRD. And then the 4,250 acre feet budget number for WRD West Coast Barrier. This number is also from WRD. So with the current contract with WRD, we will, for the 4,250 acre feet sold to West Coast Barrier, West Basin will be losing over $300,000. And the next slide, I'll explain why that will happen. And we do not know currently what Metropolitan's water rates is going to be. So we just using whatever currently on their presentation, the 1465 per acre feet as a base to calculating how are we going to be setting for our recycling water rate. And this may change maybe by next few weeks when they actually adopt their rate. We also providing a 5% salary increase for West Basin staff. As of February 2024, the LOA, the CPI for LOA area is a 3.4%. So in our budget, we budget a 5% increase in the overall salary.
That's fine. Average treated water, our treated water charge in that hot water intake, of course, it'll fluctuate depending on what they do.
Before we move on, I don't think, board members have any comments,
Two things, one is in more looking at 82,000, but much more conservative.
That would be the lowest, not only budgeted, but the lowest volume market sales in my fixing history.
Yeah, because I was looking at that, it's kind of way back earlier, where that's the projection, because you all using that. But it's what's even more conservative than what I was the first one was going to suggest earlier, but I think that's a great idea. Now on the, and I understand, I guess, whether he provided this info for the Dominguez Gap.
Yeah.
They're saying 2,500, but I see that last time we went to 2,000, we're not even seeing that. So I don't know. I mean, they're telling us 2,500, but I don't know if he means a lot on that this number.
We have contemplated that. We contemplated the Dominguez Gap barrier sales are something that West Basin should not always plan for in the future. In fact, when I kind of look at it, I think at some point, ideally, that would be zero. But You talk to folks at WRD, they purchased their recycled water from the city of LA, from Terminal Island. Terminal Island has just never been able to produce their contractual amounts. And so when they provided this number for us, and you hear about it at the West Basin Water Association, when WRD presents, they talk about how much recycled water they put in the barrier and it's how much fluoride water. Because they pay a full charge, they can say RTS, LEL, service charge on the giving us that. It is valuable to West Basin to have those sales, but we're very reliant on what LADWP can produce from the island as a WRD, and so that's why you see these things fluctuate.
Well, if this is what to be honest, we probably could just be so low. I mean, these are. Definitely, you know, if we say like, we're all seeing it, if we put a higher number, basically. I want to, we're basically. Setting ourselves up for some chaos, it's not a thing for the SGL, we just have to be conservative, because we had it last year, and we're not getting it.
Correct.
You know, and I saw the thing right below, you could direct Boston, no one is what they're doing, but the fact is, that, yeah, I think I'm not, in like, if we have, I'll do it.
What you look at that also need to, WRD, but we will look at bringing back a more conservative environment.
Okay,
I have comments on that.
Yeah.
Whether we make conservative, I think it's a lot of, this year we're able to buy. And you're protecting the future. I think you have, I'd be support using 80 over the lower number, you know. And basically, for example, the city of Manhattan, if in the process of finishing putting DSC and the new for the new well, and they do that, they're going to be more water. And it's probably $1,000. Basically, so that's another document, it's in the scale, like it's a million dollars. So I think that the, you know, the number that I average report would be 80 is a little lower. But I think 82 is a prepared number. I think we get it. We're basing it on 80, which is bringing, you know, revenue. Supposed to be. So I think dynamically, and one that may not be big, you know, we bring in a new well. No contribution to be that wrong. But 80,000 is very good.
You make an excellent point, President Ellis. And it is worth noting that West Basin has worked with our retailers, and we have requested and promoted increased saltwater pumping for the purpose of creating additional reliability. So we'll look at that number. The second piece of this, I would like to say is earlier in the presentation, we did note that we are going to be holding a
workshop.
retail customer workshop. That will be the only interaction we have with our retailers. Based off each workshop, I'm trying to meet with all of our retailers, talk a little bit about what we're looking at. And when we talk about that groundwater pumping number and how that could impact our patient, I kind of have that very specific conversation with each of our retailers to see if they have any plans as far as additional groundwater. But we'll take a look at that. We'll come back with a look at feeding.
How will that impact? Well, we're going to bring information back. So that means that how does it impact the revenue expenses for the town to get to
Yeah.
You'll include that.
Yes, we will.
Sorry, all right.
We will. And I mean, just to give you an idea, that's just $500,000.
Yeah.
We can start T75 on reliability service charge. So if sales were to, you know, if we budget for 82,000, and we were to come in at 80 at the end of the fiscal year, that'd be a little over $1 million.
On the same thing on that table, if you go down to the planning the three. We get feedback, if we use money, whatever we do with that, WRD, in terms of you know, the best of West Basin.
And we do negotiate that, and hopefully we'll get you back good on that, and looks like there is. Nature is a slide, so you may know talk to us about it. But, we need to push, we don't have to reach out to water, because we don't really money to reach out to water, we need more money.
Yeah, it's not correct. You lose more money on.
Recycling.
As far as the cost to produce it, and the amount that we can charge for it, it's significantly greater if we recycle water than it is for the total.
So we lose money either way.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Did we have a board meeting with the board meeting with the very? I talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it before. We do have the, a West Basin, WRD ad hoc committee. And I think that's it, we do with some regularity. They have expressed a willingness to increase the amount that they pay. But that is conditioned upon, improvements or investments that West Basin is willing to make in every single facility. So that is one of the discussions, that I've been having, with WRD as well as the city of Los Angeles. So.
I mean, the number of years I have committee and not really, a lot of these things are just like, we just need a law for the and overall reduction in increasing use of the water, but really the purposes as groundwater. The purpose of that committee is not to address the whole issue of the agreement, but the agreement with the green field. Maybe we might want to revisit what probably want to happen in this issue that
I'm happy to do that, but just to give you a glimpse of my mindset is that I cannot deliver more recycled water to the water punishment district until they renegotiate that agreement. So while I understand that the discussions have primarily focused on recycled water barrier, my subsequent conversations after each meeting is the need to address the amount of revenue that we generate off of that contract with water, because it's difficult for us to make the investments here as needed, getting that revenue. So that they are.
the other side again, but yeah. The purpose of the committee was to really talk about the things we can use, and we need to respect one, for instance, that we did things. Because we do have an agreement of different in the possible situation.
That's right.
Okay, so on page 44, I think this just kind of recap about the current agreement situation with the WRD. So the current agreement with WRD, the expiration date of the agreement is on April 1, 2037. And each year, how much we can charge them is based on Excel predetermined calculated table. So when we calculating using the table to calculating FY25, we're only allowed to collecting $1,274 per acre feet. For the potable water, we sell to WRD. And then the base rate we have to pay back to Metropolitan. We're going to be paying Metropolitan $14.65. So for the potable water by itself, by selling the water to WRD, and then the pay back to Metropolitan, we're going to take a loss of $365,000. And as far we are talking about the recycling water barrier, as earlier we have a slide, we talk about our current recycling cost per acre feet is almost $1,900 per acre feet, but we're only able to sell to WRD as $1,274. We're probably taking a loss over $600 per acre feet. And then if we are going to sell 10,000 acre feet to WRD, we're going to be taking a loss of $6.2 million for the recycling. Next slide, page 45. We have a proposed 4 options just for the board to think about. And of course, you know, some of the revenue numbers may be changed based on what the metropolitan's rate is going to be. But on the very first column right there, we basically saying, want to tell the board, let the board know that if we have a no increase in West Basin reliability service charge, we have a revenue going to be the 98 million. Our expenses going to be the 72 million. And then our debt coverage is going to be 1.16, which is lower than the 1.2. And then we propose option number 1, still no increase reliability survey charge, but we will, West Basin staff will have to cut $7.8 million. Then that is, we may able to make the debt coverage for 1.5. Yes.
First of all, I'm looking at the slide now. To remove the words proposed. What we're doing is we're providing you 4 different options so we can get a good understanding of where we sit financially and what potentially will be needed. This presentation is not intended to guide the direction of the board, but to give you a really good understanding of what this action, the passing of the budget, will require. And so if you look at these options or scenarios that we can consider, as Wendy suggested, if you do not increase your liability service charge and you maintain our current spending levels, we will be below a contractual obligation on our debt coverage ratio, 1.16. That's clearly not advisable. Secondly, in looking at the fact that the contractual obligation on the debt coverage ratio is 1.2, and looking at our sales, and including what Director Howard pointed out, which is if we could come below the 82,000, you could actually, if a couple of groundwater projects were to move forward in this next fiscal year, and so it's Director Howard said, you know, you get below that 80,000, we would be dangerously close to being below that 1.2 on the coverage ratio. And with that in mind, I've asked Wendy to create all of the options utilizing a 1.5. Now, you saw earlier in the presentation that West Basin debt coverage ratio policy or target is 1.75. So we're not planning for that, but with all the scenarios, look at a 1.5. So in your option 1, that again is no increase. If the board of directors said, you know, we do not want to increase our reliability service charge, it would require that we cut our budget by $7.8 million. Option 2, the 5% increase. In order to do that, to maintain that 1.5 debt coverage ratio, you need to cut $6.5 million. And you can see that theme there as far as we've got $1 million, a little bit more. Option 3 at 10% requires a $5.2 million cut. And option 4 is 15% increase with a $3.9 million. Now, staff is ready and prepared to have any of these conversations with you. I believe we have the numbers projected out on a 20% increase. But we wanted to walk you through those scenarios, and you can see below the amount of the increase depending on the 5, the 10, and 15. So 5% would be a $14 increase on an acre foot of water. And as we all know, an acre foot serves 3 households per year and 4 individuals in that household on average. The 10% is at $27.50. And then of course the option 4 at 15% is $41.25. And these are just to give you some idea as to the task at hand in this budget. We're going to go through in the next budget workshop to talk about the specific program expenses. We will feel for that. But this is something that every agency that I'm aware of is wrestling with this year. The cost of doing business, the cost of serving water, moves has been increasing exponentially over the last few years. So we're going to adopt a budget and maintain, I think, good financial standing and planning for the future. We're going to want to be at that 1.5 or above. So with that, Wendy, I apologize for jumping in there. We do have another, there's one more slide that identifies the next workshop thing and kind of what we'll be back with. But if anybody has any questions about this slide, I'll have to do my best to answer it. Or
I'm really slowly. I didn't have to do things that I'd like to do. I'd like to get my.
The next budget workshop, are you going to be more information about these options?
we're happy to do that, but our intent was to walk you through all the different program and expenses for each of the different departments. You can see those categories in here. Ultimately, West Basin's budget, although we looked at the large picture as far as how much revenue we're generating from a lot of that is tax. So there's not significant opportunities for cuts unless you cut services. Worth noting, two of our programmatic expenses, the public information education, as well as our water policy, those are actually selected on the big start. So making cuts in those areas really won't impact your volume metrics, right? And then of course you have your CIP. And right now, and we have a couple of engineers in the room, so I know that they're anxious to do it, but we do not have an adopted or approved 5 and 10 year capital improvement program that identifies all of the projects that we're looking at and what needs to be done. I know that the board has expressed interest to do that, but we've talked a lot about what the future of the facilities looks like as far as projecting and planning that out. But when you get past the CLP and you get past the public information education and our policy, making cuts is difficult. And I think that you've been tracking, following that our discussions. They talked about making programmatic cuts of about $18 million. My understanding is that the board has just discussed that with the general manager, said make the necessary cuts to get below that. But if you look at the potential cuts that we're facing, it gets more and more difficult.
I think a couple of things now, I'll probably more later, but even in this scenario, we really focusing on keeping that coverage to 1.5. And I understand. And I get our policy of 1.75, if you have to for a while, but if you're looking back at we've been landing in the 1.3 area. So I think there's a couple of things. It seems like I don't know why we have to be set on 1.5. And like Alvarez was saying earlier, I think that we have to decide what is a good and reasonable reserve. It's not about having a reserve just for having it. It is not something more in it, but it's like I think it's like legally required, and maybe a little bit more. But I've seen this too many times in most of the cities too. They want 4 these reserve funds, and they're not using them to actually work in the community. As well as when times get tough, they don't want to throw out of them. Instead, they wait to go off and do the thing. So back to this. So I think you can have a heavier conversation about what's reasonable for the good, not what we want, Cadillac finance. And also this debt coverage ratio. One of we're meeting the reasonable or contractual obligation, and then some, it seems like we're quote unquote healthy. That's a perspective at this moment. I'll leave it there.
If I could just touch on a couple of things you mentioned. First, on the debt coverage ratio. So we have always budgeted for a healthy debt coverage ratio. But the concern there is that the last couple of years, the projected final debt coverage ratio is far less than the budgeted. And I think if you go back a handful of years ago, we exceeded. I think a few years ago, it was, I think that's why it's 8.9.
Yeah.
So the concern is that if you budget for a 1.3 and you come below, you're dangerously close to a 1.2. Now, of course, the board would take specific actions to cut the budget, if emergencies occur. But that is something that we want to consider. In terms of the reserve, one of the things that I've given a lot of thought about is that West Basin is in this position now where we need to start thinking long-term about leveraging a waterside facility as well as the Donald L. Weir building headquarters. And we've had conversations about that in the past. We've had a chance to discuss that issue with, I think, all of you individually. My intent is to work with staff to bring back options to the board of directors in this next fiscal year for you to consider as far as that building goes. But if you had a chance to be at the facility of recent, you probably noticed that only one of the elevators is working at this time. For the past several months, have had to shut down that elevator. My neighbors have been. So when we talk about the reserve, or if I think about the reserve, I'm thinking about some of these long-term issues that the board of directors will want to consider when adopting this budget.
I actually noticed the deal before, and I see that that's going to talk about that when we work. But when I think about it, and the one we've been talking about this for a few years. And that may very well be something where we could, look at the options of that building. I mean, potentially selling it. Or taxpayer potentially, right? So I think that, the sad part is we were in this position, we need to get out the budget, we're going to the fiscal year. And we have always been doing this at once, and so we can't take action on too much to get things accomplished. But I say, we really have to take the part about that, where we can, make cuts, yes, but on the other hand, where can we find money? And one of them is that building potentially. And by the way, there's a lot of vacant office space out there everywhere, all over the place. So I think that the board has to be really realistic about what is the future of that building, based on the time we're going to get. You may think of something else, because I'm all over down in the building. Let me come here. Right.
Even the general manager, I think we can look at it long term. Budget, it's for the next fiscal year, but I think the vision should be long term into sustainability. And obviously, the climate speaks of being very, very conservative in terms of how we go get expenses and so forth. So, and I think we do need to revisit the downtown ability and figure out what we're going to do with it as it fits into the overall budget strategy. And so, I think that's what we should look at. We're very conservative, knowing the trend is going to be less water in the basic food. And all the other expenses specifically with recycled water. So I encourage you to hold that thought and think that, and then directly operate with that's a consideration. That we should look at the return first.
I agree with the but we gotta get rid of and no one is, with some something that's going to be would be there, but we seem to always stall. 5-year capital improvement program is wonderful. And you know that we're a business that we're You have to be very careful about what you do because, you know, you might help you here, but hurt you there. So very, very, very dangerous. So you have to look at the long-term planning. You look like a thing you know, long-term something, short-term, nothing here. I can't really know exactly what it is. I know that, we need to, think long-term and that short term. Well, we're gonna do that, yeah, I know we have to, you guys to do something. That's all.
I have a schedule comment, and I know we were using we expected to take coverage ratio, 50. So we've, overestimated it in that, I mean, go, take us back to the revenue domain, and we continue to overestimate the water system. So at some point, we do need to be very, conservative in our water share. And again, I went back to 50 year, whether we go with 2,000 or 80,000, that makes a big difference. And it will end up being effective in that big coverage rate at the end of the year. So, it's much as we don't want to, I think, I don't want to see a big increase at all. We do need to be very honest about what we have to do and how we can minimize the negative things like that. So again, it's not underestimating the revenue side, overestimating the water service, save money, or not to save money, but not really, do. Because that's our official, at the end of the day, it doesn't say anything. When we're looking at the future and I appreciate that these are the options that we have proposed in the big killing. But we do need to look at where we're going to be in terms of operating expenses, and where they need to reduce our policy from the range of things we've been doing. Basically, we do $17 million. Maybe something between this year, you told me you can reduce out the expenditures. And we would be commended for that, we need to do that. But I think that maybe looking forward, we need to use the different stuff to lower the expenditure together. And that may, in fact, it's going to be like programmatic items that you do have. I do know that we need to look at that, so it's only these kind of features. If we didn't have to be about, and everybody's different, it's this issue right now. We have a lot of issues, sanctions, and we have very little control over the basic expenses, but we do have control over it. They don't need to look at that in more serious. And it does come with, anything you can give us, somebody is giving us something they want. So I think we need to be thoughtful about it, and we think that we need to look at overall reducing the expenditure levels. Definitely, in between, budget, we need to go to bring back to the policy. Yeah, what's going on? We touch a lot about our needs for investment that period in North Florida and CIP. And actually, that I would say, possibly knowing what we're going to be doing. I am very concerned, continuing to invest money in the plan because we need to be able to do the open first. I get the fact that these are all facilities. This plan, data the ICU, and the sciences in water. It was 30 years ago, and it will be 9 years today, it is not going to be the same way at all. I mean, we have different processes, with some of the treatment that we do, and when we go in the forest. So, Are we gonna be making investments for the next 5 years, for the next 30 years? There's a lot of things to, go into that. And so we talked about, we'd like to have a CIP. I agree, we can have it, but we need to know what that CIP is. Not just saying the CIP is used to repair there. We spend $7 million in this, and we spend $20 million and then $30 million. Because in 5 years, all of that can be spent in investment. And right now, we have a debt ceiling that's very difficult for us to maintain. And it can be even more difficult for us to maintain the when we use the plan by the other than people the functions and the reflected in the relative. The last item is you really need to keep in mind what is the net rate going to be increased. I think that probably it's going to really increase those by about 8.5%. But with food, the budget is originally something else that can do 13 for the total of 21. It's 8.5 to 8.5, and I have to do with 3-day raise is down on the as a learn. If they can raise legally, without going up for vote or these that, it's a matter of raising more revenue, because it's still one of 5 spots, the schools are already, it's really. And we do consider them, but something that makes it use of it. Depending on what they end up doing, depending on the fact how much rate they got, like our rating is $275. But overall, if the biggest rate, the rate 9.5%. Above and beyond where we are right now, we just add a 275. That's still if we need to do like question. So we're ready for you that we will be always work by the end of this month. About the budget. And you see where they are. I think we've been very concerned about home increase. We add the loan tax that will allow us to go to a lower rate increase. Will be about that 8.5%. If we go to $1.07, other things asking for a higher loan tax increase, it potentially can come down and be a little bit below that. But there are some that don't want to see any loan tax increase, and if that's the case, we need to figure it into the next part. And that's the thing that next part, and I think it's consistent. With these capital flows, like it was that one see $18 million spent in their budget, own budget, house tax, that's up to the staff, and generate $1.50 million in water sales, in the reserve. So this is a funny money thing, but that's my perspective on this. So depending on that. Our rate will go up significantly without us raising our revenues to take charge of that. So on the one hand, if we look at it, not raising it, like we had in the first 2 options here, the proposed not one or the increases are 5%, 5%, all of these things have to be balanced. The serious points we don't have all the numbers that we'd like to have to do like that. Anyway. Right now, when you look at what we're selling water for, on 31 water, 1570. Yeah, that was 3 for
1677.
People were talking about that for retail. And we're at a point where you mentioned you're selling water at $15 million potential price. No doubt we're going to be in the foreseeable future. Well, it's the foreseeable future. And maybe fine. Water is becoming very expensive, and the selfish get impacted by us. We can only talk about it in terms of most of you and another $24 maybe even for a family, or another $50 maybe for a family, but it's $50 a year this year, next year, etc. In some families, it doesn't matter. In some families, it makes a big difference. So
all of these things, I think deep down. I don't know really anything about, but I appreciate you doing it all out, doing this blessed job. Again, I appreciate what was been said, and so coming back to it. The character, I'll be able to take it out as well as he was, thinking of this thing, because the debt coverage ratio really is driven by budget, right?
Yes,
Where that we say, and I believe sort of make up. They were following and then actually don't pan out, that's what, right, but that kind of did, so. We're really potentially shooting ourselves in the foot if we overestimate what we can do.
correct.
So I do think we need to be very conservative. Like Matt, I think Matt should be more conservative what we're doing. If we keep getting ourselves in this hole, if we all think we're gonna sell more water, and we make all these assumptions, and they don't pan out. So I agree with that. I think, yeah, we should probably go down to 80,000 acre code or something like that. We feel conservative on what we think is gonna happen, and the same with that, we need to look at that. Just so we don't even, why are we even talking for something that we have to realize? Now, we don't know what next summer or this summer and from winter from the past. Maybe it's gonna be good, maybe it's gonna, hang up and we'll sell more water. So on paper, we'll come out better. But I think that we need to, I think that will help us for numbers and on paper with that. First, and then, I do think again, we're gonna have that coverage ratio conversation. What can we live with? And I'm curious, what can we live with? I am really concerned because that we don't really have the true strategic plans. I understand staff, we don't got clear guidance. Before we really don't got clear guidance on what is priority in the facility, and I'm very concerned that something is going to really benefit when we go to this operation, and it's going to force us to, I guess we just have to sell everybody to get them out of customers, total water. Which would be a huge problem for us. So I think, I don't know how we do it right out there, but that has to be a conversation too, is like, what are the true priorities of the district? In the next year or so, that we need to make sure that the next facility is going to process it. And I also think though that, we probably have to be realistic that we're gonna have to do this. I don't think any of those things, I think we've been good over the last 20 years to minimize that. We've had disagreements on the board, if it's ready or not, et cetera, but everything is going up. The public does unfortunately on that. And I think we would see nothing to ourselves if we decided to pass things along. It's not the point. So I do think that no matter what scenario is coming before us, we gotta have something in there to increase the trend there. And last but not least, so we have the cost of the study, which won't be done until later in the calendar year, basically.
That's correct. It's going to coincide or be very close to the end of the fiscal year. But I really want to point out that the value of the cost of service study really will help us out with new benefits for funds. Which the first one comes up in August of 2024. And I would just point out that those are benefits with the point of families. I think the mortgage of them, the content of it provides full cost of the service. The issues always come about is how do you plan, when you talk about cost of service, you need to know what projects are on the horizon. Because you want to be then collecting for those so that you can pay for them in time. So that's where the cost of service study will help us as far as each one of our refineries again. And so West Basin financial position will improve each contract that gets done. But it's going to take some time.
Okay. So at the end of the day, when all this stuff is ready for one concept like that. So the cost of service study is not ready. It will not be part of this conversation. It's more into the next fiscal year. Yeah.
I'm glad you made that. I do have a concern. I always, I've been asking for it and constantly going on. And I hope that we have that
I'm starting with the budget on it. I got two guys and getting on each half of one of them. That's what I start to feel before we dress. The very first I didn't say it was a funny thing. We dress it. We do it on each half of it. And in studying the reflex for road, I haven't actually been able to set those based on the constitution. So that study's been going on for quite a while. Concerned hearing now that we will have it ready for this budget cycle. Let's try and get that. There's no big ready for this budget cycle, so we can see in the last 3 days and really detail when we have the water. So for instance, we can set the impact of water, we certainly have to pass the and deal with it. You should know where we should use that we use that. And we will have information that can help guide us on that. You know, the consultants that we have working on the scope of work and the schedule goes into the summer. We can push on that to get the information sooner, but again, we do have some usable information that we're already utilizing for our discussion with the autonomous. Really, because of the contractual obligations, the only area where it could really provide us some guidance. And again, I haven't utilized the information that I have available now is the rate or the cost of our tertiary irrigation. And the question, of course, from a policy perspective would be on the board of directors is it important for you to recover the cost of service on your purple pipe, your irrigation water? Because if so, as the information that we have available to us, the debt coverage on those projects is expensive. Those pipeline projects that we've done over the course of those years, the PV lateral memo, the cost of that water is expensive and will greatly exceed, if you were to do 100% cost recovery, you'll greatly exceed the amount we charge for potable water. And I would guess that a school district or a municipality, if recycled water was far more expensive than imported water, I would guess that school district or the municipality would turn off the pipe if they could buy potable water for much lower price. So that's the issue before us. And West Basin has done this historically. We've always set that irrigation rate as high as we can go, looking at the imported water rate, not so much based off of the cost of service, which we'll have, but that would be a policy discussion after the board of directors if you're willing around to exceed that. There are benefits of recycled water. Obviously, you can obtain and invest, even in times of drought. You also don't have to conserve as much in those areas because you get credit for recycled water. But
everything you said is correct. It's all more reason we need to have those numbers. That's cost of service that we need to do back up. It's just a fun, and everything else. Whether we want to then, once we know what the numbers are, and here's what they are, how we deal with that will be then the policy. But not knowing what they are, or at least not having the public know what they are, doesn't serve any good purpose either. It doesn't serve as any good purpose, and we saw a lot of negative numbers to go, yes. You know, we don't generate the revenue that we need to generate to cover our operating expenses. So we need to say that, and it's not a complete picture, but sooner or later, you have to stand up and be fair to deal with it and make whatever decisions you have to do before them. Some of them may not be very pleasant decisions, and you may be increasing rates, and you be doing other things or combination of many things. But we need the numbers. We're not going to do, you can't make those decisions, and you cannot establish good sound public policy. So the cost of service study, whatever you need to do, needs to be finished. And it should not be another fiscal year before you can do money. If we're still working and at a different balance, we'd be done, we're still working next year. This is part of the order, but the nice of them have Yes, it's listed in the plus, it's listed without percent. And if somebody did that, that's not the civil service for 2 years, I don't have indication for moving.
Understood.
Any other comments?
Um,
Just want to say that, or it's just a basic, take out all the time. Thank you. It's
kind of like your thing. Because, you know, we're in such an avoid trying to set numbers for this fiscal year, and we don't have any for the transportation part, but I'm looking forward to the day, yes, we could have everything where we just reset a lot of things across the board. So to what the president has said, we can, is there a way we can have this cost of service study finished, today, or, you know, it's been really April. We need these numbers next month, May, so we could get this started, we could implement them to it by the year. But I don't see it happening to the plan. If we don't have some of those numbers,
We will be able to provide you the information that we have available to us. I do want to, we have a number of people here who are on the team, like the non-staff, because I would say, I'm biased, the majority of the work, we do have consultants helping us. But the majority of work has been done. We have found that our consultants, this lack of understanding of West Coast water recycling systems, and kind of long-term debt obligations, they have not been able to produce as quickly as I guess.
thank you for saying that, because I wasn't aware. I mean, look. And I think the staff, because I know, by the way, when we've had some other meetings and we've had meetings talking to you all, and we've gotten, I don't take any of this topic as a staff. These are the kind of things people need to understand what's really going on. And I have to say, it's really disheartening to hear that the consultants and people are paying a lot of money to don't apparently understand our system and this, that, and the other. So it is what it is, but I think let's just go back to everything. Any of us in these seats in the public service get really frustrated with it. We spend a lot of money on people who say they can do stuff, and then they underperform. You know, and on behalf of the public, I think we have every right to be upset. So I think it's the same thing for those too, but us at the very probably going to take a lot harder look when people come on to us with free contact. Because people are not handing out, wasting a lot of money. So that's a yes. It's too bad that that's what's going on, but we need every which way possible, I think, trying to get something that we can put into this budget cycle rather than another year. Or we have to adjust going back to this one. So that's one. Two is, I think we do have to have a conversation with the security of water itself. I mean, you know, whether it's the full cost or it's not nearly subsidized, but I think we need to look at that. You know, people have to pay for reliability. And this district obviously has subsidized a lot of things over the years. And that kind of person, they don't understand that, they don't know. You know, that customers. But again, I think we're all very in reality check. And I think what's based on the many public agencies, and you know, number one, we need to have everything on tape. And then number two, make those strategic decisions that we're comfortable with. And by the way, people need to come and talk to us. If they got a great concern about what we're looking at, we do need them to come and talk to us about it. But, you know, kind of the free rides are a little bit older. I mean, climate's changing, the water production is much more expensive, you know, so we kind of have to have our kind of genius moment and with this, you know, I think like the ship a lot more and now. Years. I mean, just, I appreciate if you mentioned that, you know, that's something very quite good. One last thing I thought about is, I think we, you know, look, I love our all of our programming, and especially like, we add the supplemental on grants we do another thing. So, you know, quite honestly, if we have to look at that from different things that we do stuff, but I on top of it, that might be one. Maybe we're not doing the extra one. And I don't have to say here, but you know, if we have to look at some realistic things, just make a cut, then maybe those are something. Because some people, they might still go to the program whether they get the extra dollar. I don't know, I'm just me talking. When we get maybe the next workshop. But I know we put our, you know, a lot of things in, maybe a lot of, but, you know, maybe we do have to sometimes do it, okay. The coach is probably gonna need to do it anyway, so why do we have to collect the money that we could spend money on? Thank you. It's a lot.
Yeah, and just like dropping landscaping around, different fronts. Anyway, one thing we got to remember for public agency. You know, we spend about 50. Move that we spend 25. That's probably. So, the other thing is that, everything breaks. And we have to be prepared to fix those things. When we have a nice facility. Let's see, really. It's coming, falling into that, everything great. Down, we're doing, it's already there. Everything's good. We've been knowing this for a while. And the reason you'll never, this will take longer on us. But, it's been good, I appreciate it, my staff. That's right, they did it, in the position. And for a very long time. Not that now. Know what you're up against. And. Yeah, especially our leadership. I think we have great leadership now. Not to say that we didn't have it. But you all are in the special district. And you have a tough job. And you have to do a good job. Like, satisfying. Into the leadership never ever have an increase. We know that because of the nature of our business, we need to have increase more than anything. But we do everything we can to have our constituents believe that, costs will never go. No, never go. Don't worry about it. No, can't do it. You know that cost has to go on, but you won't be able to meet the service required. So, I think we have a great team up here that these folks care about the money we have to spend to satisfy the opinion of our constituents. And as long as we're just doing things that we've been doing 110%. Without ever raising things that done, you're going to do a great job. I'm looking forward to this, and I know that you folks are going to do whatever you can to keep the cost down. You can never tell them that they never what to be able to even monitor and control how much it goes up. And you can see that when you can, well, today, you know that you the easy speed going up. You feel highly. But everything breaks now, you can see that. Yeah, commercial. Everything breaks. Thank you. Okay, I would like to
Thank you very much for the, presentation today. Glad numbers out there. Some not very pleasant to look at, but that seems to be clear out there, so very much appreciated for that. And to the amount of staff work that's being done for the customer service study, I agree that our staff is doing the majority of that work. And that we have been very generous to those consultants. And also, you know, I'm very disappointed with that. But I think he's the best thing to do. He does the customer service. So, whatever you can do to bring that forward, stay around and make it, we need that. We need to find them.
We will do everything we can to expedite that. Again, I'm very proud of the work that staff is doing that. And I do want to just say that our water recycling system and the debt that comes with all the great work that we've done in the past, it's a very difficult one. You're talking about multiple years and years of assess the pages in that, and to really combine that, to understand the complexities of the water recycling system itself was a very difficult thing, especially for an outsider this timeline. But again, I want to so thank you very much to our staff, to Bill in the back, Don Wendy, Matt, and Susanna. Primarily leading the efforts. So, it's a lot of great work, but we will do everything we can to move forward as quickly as possible.
Okay, well, with that, we don't have last minute more comments. Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.